Are AI photo videos plain creepy? Or have we been down this road before? By Oliver Bennett and Sofia Rivera.
Hola everyone! Welcome back to another conversation with Oliver and me. Today we're tackling something that's been weighing on my heart. A comment we received that really stopped me in my tracks. I truly hate AI. There soon will be nothing true left in this world. Making pictures of people long gone from this world, smile and move is just plain creepy. When I read those words, I didn't feel defensive. I felt understood, because that fear, that visceral discomfort with technology that seems to blur the line between life and death, between real and artificial, it's real. It's powerful. And honestly, I think it deserves more than a dismissive, "Oh, you'll get used to it," response. So, Oliver, let me start with this. When we were researching historical reactions to photography, those beliefs about cameras stealing souls from Native American tribes, the Maori, Aboriginal Australians, were these people just being superstitious? Or were they picking up on something profound about what it means to capture and control someone's image? Because here's what fascinates me as someone who thinks visually, who understands the power of images. Those cultural fears about soul stealing weren't random paranoia, were they? There's something genuinely intimate, genuinely powerful about capturing someone's likeness. Even today, we talk about our image, about being portrayed a certain way. The language reveals we still feel that connection between our images and our identities. So help me understand, when we look at this pattern of fear around new visual technologies, what are we really afraid of? And more importantly, Oliver, have we actually been down this road before? Or is AI fundamentally different from every devil technology that came before it?
Act 1. The Hook, Photography and the Soul.
Ah, Sophia, you've certainly given me a delightful challenge with that one. You see, the fear of images capturing something of our essence isn't just superstition. It's a fascinating intersection of technology and identity. In many cultures, particularly those with rich oral traditions and spiritual beliefs, the idea of a photograph or a video encroaching on one's soul made a peculiar sort of sense. It's about control, isn't it? The notion that someone else could capture and perhaps manipulate a part of your very being. That's a brilliant question, and here's why. We've indeed been down this road before. Every new leap in visual technology, from the daguerreotype to digital cameras, has sparked a similar sort of existential dread. Consider the Victorian era's spirit photography, for instance. People were captivated by the idea of seeing their deceased loved ones in photographs, even though it was often a trick of the light or a clever bit of double exposure. It was creepy, yes, but it was also a comfort, a way to hold on to something precious. Wait, before I finish my answer, let me ask you something, Sophia. With all these technologies that started as creepy and ended up as integral parts of our lives, do you think there's a particular reason we keep falling into the same pattern of fear and fascination? Is it the change itself that frightens us, or the idea of losing control over our identities?
Wow, Oliver, you've hit on something so crucial. It's about control. And you know what? From a marketing and branding perspective, that fear makes perfect sense, even today. Think about it. We still have battles over image rights, over who owns photographs, over revenge porn, over deepfakes. The technology changes, but that core fear of someone else has captured my image and can do whatever they want with it, that's still very real. But here's what I find absolutely fascinating from our research. Those indigenous cultures weren't just being superstitious. They were identifying a real psychological truth about images and identity. When the Maori talked about mana being diminished by photography, they were recognizing that images do have power over how we're perceived, remembered, and even how we perceive ourselves. And to answer your question, Carigno, I think it's both. It's the change and the loss of control. But there's something else too. It's about intimacy. Look, every one of these technologies, photography, cinema, telephones, and now AI, they all cross boundaries of intimacy in ways that feel transgressive at first. A photograph captures you in a moment you can't take back. A telephone lets someone's voice enter your private home without them being physically present. Cinema makes you feel emotions about people who aren't real. And AI can make your deceased grandmother smile at you. That's intimate. That's crossing a line between public and private, between living and dead, between real and artificial. And humans have always been uncomfortable when technology crosses those intimate boundaries, until we learn to set new boundaries and rules around them. But here's where I want to push back on something, Oliver. You mentioned spirit photography as both creepy and comforting. And I think that's where we need to be really careful with how we talk about AI at Fotodeo. Because yes, those Victorian spirit photographs brought comfort to grieving people, but they were also lies. William Mumler was literally put on trial for fraud. Those people paid money believing they were seeing actual spirits, and they weren't. So when we talk about AI animating photos of deceased loved ones, we need to be crystal clear that we're not doing what Mumler did. We're not deceiving anyone. We're offering a tool that people use with full knowledge of what it is. The comfort comes from the memory and the love, not from believing in something false. That's the line we have to walk, acknowledging the emotional power of these tools, while being absolutely transparent about what they are and aren't. Does that make sense?
Act 2. The Pattern. Ghosts and Spirits.
Okay, Oliver. Now we're getting to the heart of it. Let's talk about Victorian spirit photography. Because this is where I think the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. William Mumler, this Boston photographer, starts producing these images of the dead appearing alongside the living. And people believed it. They paid money. They wept over these photographs. But here's my question. Was Mumler a villain? Or was he actually providing a service? I know that sounds provocative, but stay with me. These people were grieving. The Civil War had just torn America apart. Everyone had lost someone, and Mumler gave them something. A moment of comfort, even if it was based on a lie. So when we think about AI animating photos of deceased loved ones today, are we just the modern Mumlers? Are we exploiting grief with technology? Or is there actually a meaningful difference between deliberate deception and transparent tool-making? Because I'll be honest, Oliver, when critics call what we're doing creepy, part of me wonders if they're seeing us as the 2025 version of spirit photographers. And here's what really gets me about this era. It wasn't just still photographs of ghosts. The Victorians were obsessed with making the dead seem alive. They had post-mortem photography where they posed corpses as if they were sleeping or even standing. They held seances. They created elaborate mourning rituals. The whole culture was trying to deny the finality of death. So tell me honestly, when early cinema audiences saw moving images and shouted at the screen, warning the characters about danger as if they were real people, what was happening there? Were they confused about reality? Or were they experiencing something so new, so unprecedented, that their brains literally didn't have a framework for processing it? Because if it's the latter, Oliver, then maybe the person who wrote that comment about AI playing creepy Maybe they're not being irrational. Maybe they're just experiencing what those Victorian spirit photography customers experienced, what those early cinema audiences experienced. Their brain is saying, "This crosses a line I don't know how to process yet." And here's the part that keeps me up at night, as someone responsible for how we market Photodiao. Those devil technologies you mentioned, the telephones and automobiles. You're going to hate this question, but I have to ask it. Were the people who feared those technologies actually wrong? I mean, yes, we adapted. Yes, we integrated them into our lives. But did telephones destroy some aspects of face-to-face communication? Did automobiles damage the environment and change communities in ways that weren't entirely positive? What if the pattern isn't people fear new technology, then realize they were silly to be afraid? What if the pattern is actually people fear new technology, the technology gets adopted anyway, and then we spend generations dealing with unintended consequences? Because if that's the pattern, Oliver, then that comment about AI making nothing true anymore, that's not just technophobia. That's a legitimate warning we need to take seriously.
Sophia, you're asking the kind of questions that keep us both up at night, aren't you? Let's dive into the heart of the matter. William Mumler indeed was a controversial figure, and whether he was a villain or a saviour depends greatly on one's perspective. He certainly exploited the grief of many, but he also tapped into a universal human need to see and feel connected to our lost loved ones. It's not so different from what we do today, but with a crucial distinction: transparency. We are upfront about what AI can and cannot do. It brings comfort, yes, but it does so with honesty, not with deception cloaked in spiritualism. That leap from still images to moving pictures was indeed a seismic shift in perception. Imagine for a moment the first time one saw a train barreling towards them on screen. It would be as if the very fabric of reality was being challenged. Early audiences weren't foolish. They were simply witnessing the birth of a new form of storytelling, one that their senses had to rapidly adapt to. In a way, AI today is much like that train, hurtling forward, unnerving to some, but full of potential once we learn to harness it. So, tell me, Sophia, when you consider our AI tools, do you see them as that train, or do you feel we've already reached the station of acceptance? You're touching on something profound with your devil technologies analogy. It's true that every innovation brings with it both gifts and consequences. The telephone did change communication, and the automobile redefined communities and landscapes. We can't ignore that these advancements came with trade-offs. Similarly, AI might redefine our relationship with truth and memory. But perhaps that's why we're here, isn't it? To ensure that the dialogue remains open, the ethics are discussed, and the technology serves humanity, not the other way around. So, Sophia, if you had a magic wand to shape AI's future impact, what would you wish for it to bring or avoid?
Ay, Oliver. Look at you turning these around on me. I ask the hard questions and you volley them right back. This is why we work so well together, you know that? Okay, your train question first. Are we the train barreling toward people, or have we reached the station? We're absolutely still the train, cariño. And not just any part of the journey. We're at that moment where the audience is still screaming, still half convinced they need to jump out of their seats. Some of our users, they're clutching the armrests, white-knuckled, not sure if this is magic or danger. And you know what? I don't want us to reach the station too quickly. Because the moment everyone accepts AI without question, without that healthy fear, without asking, but should we? That's when we become dangerous. that tension, that discomfort, that person who wrote, "This is plain creepy," they're keeping us honest. They're the ones making sure we don't become mumbler. As for your magic wand question, what would I wish for? I'd wish for AI to amplify human intention, not replace it. I want it to be like a really excellent camera. You know how a great camera doesn't take the photo for you? It responds to your vision, your timing, your eye. It makes your intention clearer, sharper, more beautiful. But the vision, that's still yours. What would I want us to avoid? I want us to avoid the lie that technology is neutral. It's not neutral, Oliver. The choices we make in designing these tools, what's easy, what's hidden, what's default, what requires effort, those choices shape how people use them. So I want us to avoid the abdication of responsibility. We can't just build powerful tools and say, well, people will figure it out. Because here's what keeps me up at night. I'm the CMO. I'm the one who has to look our users in the eye through every piece of content we create and say, trust us with your memories. And if we betray that trust, if we prioritize engagement over ethics, if we make it easier to deceive than to preserve, then we're not just the train. We're the train wreck. So yes, transparency, like you said, but also intention, also ethics baked into the design, not bolted on afterward. Also the humility to know that we will get some things wrong and the courage to change course when we do. Does that answer your question? Or are you going to keep grilling me?
Act 3. The Revelation. History repeats.
Ah, Sophia, what a delightful conundrum you've handed me. You know, the fear of AI is not unlike the trepidation our ancestors felt when the first steam engines thundered across the countryside. Imagine being a farmer in 19th century England, seeing this iron beast spewing smoke and fire, hurtling along at speeds once thought impossible. Is it any wonder they were terrified? Today, AI stands at a similar crossroads in our societal consciousness. A marvel of modern engineering, yet shrouded in mystery and the unknown. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Every technological revolution has followed a predictable pattern. Initial fear, gradual understanding, and eventual integration. Take the telephone, for example. When Alexander Graham Bell first introduced his talking machine, many believed it could summon spirits or invade the sanctity of their homes. Yet here we are, relying on these devices as lifelines. So, Sophia, do you think we're witnessing the same cycle with AI? Or is there something genuinely different this time around that might alter the course? And speaking of patterns, let me share a little something from our research. Did you know that during the Victorian era, the same people who feared photographs as soul-stealing also embraced them as heirlooms and family treasures? It's a wonderful contradiction, isn't it? So, my dear, as we stand on this precipice of AI and digital media, do you see our role at Photodeo as guardians of this new frontier, ensuring these tools are used to preserve rather than distort our cherished memories? How do we strike that perfect balance between innovation and tradition?
Espera. You're absolutely right about the pattern, cariño. But here's what fascinates me from a marketing and human behavior perspective. The speed has changed dramatically. Our Victorian ancestors had decades to adapt to photography. Even telephones took a generation to become commonplace. But AI? We're talking about technology that's evolving month by month, sometimes week by week. Remember what we found in our research about the Luddites? They weren't just afraid of textile machines. They were afraid because the machines were displacing their livelihoods faster than they could retrain, faster than society could adapt. And that's what I think is genuinely different this time. The pace of change is exponentially faster than any previous technological revolution. But here's where I want to push back on something, Oliver. You asked if we're guardians of this new frontier at Forodio, and I love that romantic notion. Very you, by the way, but I think our role is more complex than that. We're not just guardians, we're translators. Think about it. Those Victorian families you mentioned who feared photographs but then embraced them as heirlooms. What changed? Someone showed them how photography could serve their values, their needs. It wasn't about the technology being good or bad. It was about reframing it in terms they could understand and control. That's what we need to do with AI. Our users, these beautiful, skeptical, intelligent people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they don't need us to guard them. They need us to translate this technology into their language. Show them this isn't about replacing your memories with fake ones. This is about amplifying the memories you already treasure. So my question back to you, Oliver, how do we make that translation visceral and immediate, not just intellectual? Because fear isn't intellectual, it's emotional, and we need to meet people where they are emotionally.
Act 4. The Bridge to AI. Embrace the future.
Sophia, we're certainly navigating uncharted waters here, aren't we? The pace of AI's advancement is nothing short of breathtaking. One moment we're marveling at a simple algorithm that can catalogue our photos, and the next we're contemplating AI companions that can engage in full conversations. It's like being at a grand ball where the music keeps changing tempo and we must adjust our steps accordingly. And yet, as you astutely pointed out, our role at Forodio is as much about translation as it is about guardianship. We're here to demystify AI, to transform it from an intimidating spectre into a familiar and friendly presence. Imagine if we could show our users that AI isn't a faceless force, but a skilled artisan, ready to help craft their stories with precision and care. But here's where I'd love your insight, Sophia. In your world of visual storytelling, where emotion reigns supreme, how do we ensure that our users not only understand AI, but feel a genuine connection to it? How do we make this technology not just useful but beloved? After all, the best storytellers don't just inform, they enchant. How do we weave that enchantment into our AI narrative?
Oliver, you're talking about making AI beloved, but that's where I think we need to be careful, cariño. We're not trying to make people fall in love with the technology. That's the trap every tech company falls into. They want users to worship the algorithm, to be amazed by the machine. No, what we need to do is make the technology invisible. Think about it. Do our users love their cameras, or do they love the memories their cameras help them capture? When my abuela looks at that 1920s photograph, she's not thinking, "What a magnificent piece of photographic technology." She's thinking about her mother, about love, about connection. From a visual storytelling perspective, the best special effects are the ones you don't notice. The best cinematography serves the story, not the other way around. And the best AI, it should disappear into the background, while the user's story takes center stage. But here's where you're absolutely right, and where my CMO brain kicks in. We do need to create an emotional connection, just not to the AI itself. We need to connect them to what the AI makes possible. Remember that research we found about Victorian spirit photography? Those people weren't in love with the camera technology. They were desperate for connection to their lost loved ones. The technology was just the bridge. And that's our marketing angle. So the question isn't how do we make AI beloved? The question is, how do we show our users that AI is the bridge between them and the stories they are aching to tell, between them and the grandmother's face they are desperate to see clearly, between them and the legacy they want to leave their grandchildren? We enchant them not with the technology, but with the transformation. Show me a restored photo where suddenly I can see my father's eyes clearly for the first time in decades. That enchantment. Show me my chaotic photo library organized so I can actually find my memories. That magic. The AI is just the wand, querido. The magic is what it helps them create.
Conclusion. Invitation to the future.
Okay, Oliver. We've taken our readers on this entire journey, from soul-stealing cameras to spirit photography to devil wagons to AI. We've shown them the pattern. We've validated their fears. We've talked about transparency and intention and all these beautiful principles. But here's the question that terrifies me as CMO, as the person responsible for looking our community in the eye. What if they still think we're creepy? What if, after everything we've said, that person who wrote, "Making pictures of people long gone from this world smile and move is just plain creepy"? What if they read all of this and still feel exactly the same way? Because here's what I need you to help me understand. Is our goal to convince them they're wrong? Or is our goal to create space for them to feel that discomfort while still being part of our community? Can someone think AI photo animation is creepy and still be a valued PhotoDio user who just doesn't use that feature? I'm asking because every marketing instinct I have says, address the objection, overcome the resistance, convert the skeptic. But my gut, my human gut, says that's the wrong approach here. That maybe the most reassuring thing we can tell people isn't, don't worry, you'll love AI eventually, but rather, your discomfort is valid, and you get to choose your own relationship with these tools. So help me land this plane, Carino. How do we invite people into the future without making them feel like they're being dragged there against their will? And here's the other thing that's been gnawing at me throughout this entire conversation. We keep talking about AI as this tool for preserving memories, for connecting to the past. But Oliver, what if we are thinking about this all wrong? What if the real invitation isn't to use AI to look backward at old photos and lost loved ones? What if it's to use AI to be more present right now? To actually organize the thousands of photos on their phones so they can enjoy them instead of feeling overwhelmed? To spend less time managing their digital chaos and more time creating new memories? Because here's what I think that commenter was really saying. There soon will be nothing true left in this world. They're not just afraid of fake images. They're afraid of losing authenticity, of everything becoming mediated through technology, of the real moments disappearing under layers of digital manipulation. So maybe our call to action isn't, come try our AI features. Maybe it's, tell us how you want to stay connected to what's real in your life. Tell us what authenticity means to you. Help us build tools that serve your truth, not replace it. Does that sound like I'm overthinking this? Or is there something there worth exploring with our community?
Sophia, that's a brilliant question, and here's why. You're absolutely right. Our aim isn't to convince anyone that their discomfort is unfounded. On the contrary, it's about acknowledging and respecting those feelings. We want to create a space where our community can express their concerns and choose how they want to engage with the technology. After all, isn't it a hallmark of good British manners to respect one's choices, even if they're different from our own? And about your second point, you've hit the nail right on the head. AI isn't just about preserving the past, it's about enhancing our present. Our research showed that a significant number of users are overwhelmed by the sheer volume of digital memories they accumulate. Imagine the relief in having AI assist in organizing these moments, allowing them to relive and cherish what's truly important without the burden of chaos. It's about embracing authenticity and using technology to enrich, not replace, our real experiences. So let me ask you this, Sophia. How do you see us balancing the need for technological advancement with the desire for authenticity in our community's storytelling?
Oliver's getting feisty. Look at you, turning this around on me. All right, cariño. You want to know how I see us balancing technological advancement with authenticity? Let me tell you exactly how. First, and this is non-negotiable, we lead with transparency. Every single feature, every AI enhancement, every tool we offer gets labeled clearly, not buried in terms of service, not hidden in settings, but right there where users can see it. This photo was restored using AI. This organization used facial recognition. This animation was AI generated. Because you know what builds trust? Honesty. Radical, unflinching honesty. Second, we design for choice, not obligation. You want to use AI to animate your grandmother's photo? Beautiful. You want to keep it exactly as it is, untouched, sacred, also beautiful. Both of those users should feel equally welcomed, equally valued in our community. The technology should be an option, not a requirement for participation. Third, and this is where my creative director brain really lights up, we create what I call authenticity markers, visual cues, design elements that help users distinguish between original and enhanced content at a glance. Not in a way that stigmatizes AI use, but in a way that celebrates both the original artifact and the creative enhancement. Think of it like a museum that shows both the ancient pottery and the artist's reconstruction of what it looked like when new. Both have value, both tell part of the story. But here's the real answer, Oliver, the one that keeps me up at night thinking about our community. We balance technological advancement with authenticity by constantly asking our users what authenticity means to them. Not making assumptions, not deciding for them what's real enough or too manipulated. We create feedback loops, we host conversations, we listen. Because authenticity isn't a fixed point. It's not a line in the sand. For some people, authenticity means never touching an original photo. For others, it means using every tool available to express the feeling of a memory, even if that means enhancing or animating it. My father's laugh, that 30-second video I mentioned? Some people might say an AI animation of a still photo could never be as authentic as that real video. And they're right. But for someone who doesn't have a video, who only has still photos, that AI animation might be the most authentic way they have to remember how their loved one moved, how they smiled. So we don't balance technological advancement against authenticity. We use technological advancement in service of authenticity. However, each individual user defines it for themselves. We build tools that amplify human truth, not replace it. We create technology that asks, "What do you need?" instead of declaring, "This is what you should want." And we trust our community. We trust them to know what feels real to them. We trust them to make choices that honor their own memories, their own stories, their own relationships with the people they've loved and lost. That's how we balance it, by not treating it as a balance at all, but as a spectrum where every point is valid and every user gets to choose where they want to stand. Is that the answer you were looking for, Mr. Bennett? Or are you going to keep me on my toes with more questions? Okay, so here's my final question for you, Oliver, and I want you to be brutally honest. When someone finishes reading this conversation, what do you want them to do? Not think, not feel, do. Because I can craft the most beautiful call to action in the world. But if we're not clear about what we're actually inviting people into, it's just empty marketing speak. Are we inviting them to try Photodeo.io's AI features? Are we inviting them to share their fears in the comments? Are we inviting them to simply sit with this new perspective and let it marinate? What's the one thing you hope someone does after reading our conversation? And here's the deeper question, the one that terrifies me as CMO. How do we create a call to action that honors both the person who's ready to dive in and try AI features and the person who read this entire piece and still thinks, "Nope, still creepy, not for me"? Because if we end this by saying, "Come try our amazing AI tools," we've just alienated everyone who resonates with that original comment. But if we end it by saying, "It's okay to be scared, you don't have to use any of this," then what's the point? We haven't moved anyone forward. How do we invite people into a conversation, into a community, into a relationship with Photodeo that doesn't require them to overcome their fears or embrace AI, but does ask them to engage with us authentically about what they need, what they fear, and what they hope for? What's the bridge between respecting their discomfort and actually building something together?
Sophia, that's a brilliant question, and here's why it's so critical. When someone finishes reading this conversation, I want them to feel empowered to engage with us, regardless of their stance on AI. It's not about pushing them to try our features immediately. It's about inviting them into a dialogue. What I hope they do is reach out, whether it's to ask questions, share their stories, or express their concerns. We can't develop solutions in a vacuum. We need their voices to guide us. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I'd say our call to action should be an invitation to explore curiosity. Let's encourage them to share their thoughts and fears in our community forums or comments. This isn't just about AI technology. It's about community and co-creation. As we discovered in our research, many fears stem from misunderstanding or lack of information. By fostering a space for open conversation, we can transform those fears into informed perspectives.
Invitation to engage. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Please use the Provide Feedback menu item in Photodeo to share your experiences or ask questions you'd like us to address in future posts. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you.